No, no. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Yes, welcome. You're listening live to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your girl, your favorite therapist. She's back. Yes. Welcome. You're tuning in live. I'm Dr. Thomas. It's been a minute. Feels like the longest time out I put myself on. But we're good. We're back. How y'all doing? Because I'm ready to get talking.
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. How's life treating you? I feel like it's been a while.
It has been a minute. You had a nice little sabbatical. Late August, all of September. You chilling.
I didn't know it was 5 Thursdays in September because I surely was like, we're still in September.
Mm-hmm. I was like, okay.
Tanya was the rational one.
What you mean?
I said, just give me a couple of weeks to get it together. And she was like, no, you take September.
Well, that's why you talked to her, not me. Okay, I understand.
Because you would have said, okay, come on back.
Right.
Well, thank you.
She is the
thank
good.
You.
She the good cop, bad cop parent. She the good parent.
Yeah. Take your time. Take it easy, because when
he gonna say no to everything. Talk to her.
Oh, that was rough. It felt like everything came back. School started.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff happened with the family. Mm-hmm. Shift transportation. I was like, oh Lord, I need a minute. I need a minute. But I'm back though.
You back though?
I am back.
She sound back though.
Yes.
Sound like our friend.
Who?
Skittles.
Skittles.
Stop. See.
Skittles. That sounds like a fun name though.
No, it's not.
Ooh. Okay.
It's really not.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us live on Blog Talk Radio and Facebook. We're still the same. If you want to call into the show, dial 323-870-4375. Press 1 to join the conversation. You can also email the show at hst@ttlomedia.net. And of course, join us on all social media platforms at Healthy Soul Talk. Again, welcome. You're tuning in live to the Healthy Soul Talk Show with your girl, your favorite therapist, Dr. Thomas. And of course, we're kicking off October talking about domestic violence awareness. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And of course, we like to dive into these conversations because they're very much needed. And it's kind of like, when you know better, you do better, right? So, like we do Spiritual Connect Point. Mm-hmm. And, I had to get back in the groove of things.
Okay. Okay.
And this question really came to my mind because I've been, I know we just started October, but, we dive into domestic violence. Mm-hmm. And so my facility, we are certified to provide domestic violence aggressive programming, meaning an intervention program, a partner intervention program. Mm-hmm. And so I work with the perpetrators, abusers, all these labels, right, that comes with this. And I often think about both men and women, right? So it's not just for men. We have separate groups. And we are constantly plowing through, right, how to define domestic violence, abuse, accountability, history, values, belief systems. And it has come up, and not just in this professional setting, but also in personal conversations. How does the Bible speak about domestic violence? And not necessarily that term, but the roles of a spouse, right? What deems the terms like submission and being the head of the household, but also love, right, your wife a certain way, love your husband a certain way. And so I put this question out there because I just want to kind of, I don't even say walk away with a clear understanding, but like this motivation to make sure in the Christian body, we begin to put things in perspective, right? Because we can go back in time where when we talk about domestic violence in the church, many couples were advised to stay together when there was clear physical domestic violence, right? Like, watch what you do and what did you do? And God, doesn't like divorce. And so people were really positioned to feel like they were obligated to stay together, even though not just the physical was happening, but the isolation, the controlling, what they wear, and just overall who I can talk to and when you can leave the house. So a lot of anger and frustration and not necessarily leadership in that. So my spiritual connect point question is, what does God say about a controlling spouse? And when I posed this question, at first I thought about, well, am I looking for specific scripture indicating how one should not control or be controlled in a marriage? Or was I looking for clear definition on those scriptures that reference the hierarchy, right?
Okay.
The functioning of the blueprint for what a marriage looks like. And I found kind of both, right? I found, I think it was in 1 Samuel, where there was an angry husband who, what the decisions that he made was causing severe harm to the children, right? And to the servants and to the wife. And so it was a story where David and his men were about to go in and, get everybody. And the wife went to talk to, right, David, and she smoothed things over for her husband because he was just so angry. And when he controlled, he was very, impactful. That's one thing. But then, the book of Ephesians talks about marriage, right? And so that's kind of where I am. It's like, how should one begin to put in perspective when we say, if we use the Bible as a blueprint for marriage, how do we use it? Right? When we say, what does God say about a controlling spouse? Essentially, what does that mean? Right? So we won't keep taking it out of context. Does that mean, because I saw both. I saw where the man is expected to do this just as much as, the wife is expected to do that. But I also saw where when you have an angry, right, husband, when you have an angry, out of control spouse, it does cause friction and you have to do something different. So I feel like there's a do and a don't, but we don't talk about the don't too much.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We don't talk about those stories where, relationships and marriages had to shift because of, right, bad leadership or detrimental leadership. We always go to, well, you're supposed to submit. You're supposed to keep praying. You're supposed to, go to marriage counseling, even though domestic violence is an individual choice, right? So what are your thoughts on approaching that question?
I think it's first, welcome back. Good to have you back. I think it's, I'll get to scripture in a minute because I will reference that scripture that you gave, but there is actually a different scripture. Okay. But I think we need to be careful. The church for years, unfortunately, because we had a lack of trained people in position, unknowingly, or I don't even want to say unknowingly, wrongly forced people to stay together in situations that were detrimental to them both physically and emotionally. And because of that, they caused more harm than good. It's wrong to tell any person to stay with somebody. Pray. My eye is black or swollen, but you want me to pray.
Yes.
And that was the level of ignorance of the leaders. He broke my nose, but I'm gonna pray to God. My arm is broken, but pray.
Yes.
He choked me, but pray. Or vice versa. And then if you remove yourself from the physical abuse, then becomes the emotional abuse.
Yes. Yes.
The withholding funds, or the threat of "I'll take this away," you know, and in the more recent 21st century, because women, some of the women are have become some of the breadwinners. Yeah. It then becomes reversed, because now the woman has that power, and she can say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this from you, or okay, I know how to fix you. You know, it's the whole Barbara, this is Shirley. You know, that car he drive, that them clothes he got on, I bought them. You know, that I thought I'd go there. But it's that mentality that can be abusive if used in that way. Anytime you use your authority over anyone in order for a controlling purpose, that is a level of abuse.
Right.
So we want to be careful that we're not that we're not putting people in situations that we would cause harm. So when we talk about controlling spouses, I want to go to the scripture that I looked at was Colossians 3.
Okay. All right.
Colossians 3, starting at the 17th verse. So I just want to read a little bit of this. Okay. It says, everything you do, let me make sure I'm reading the right version. I want to give y'all the right version. Hold on. Bible. Here we go. So Colossians 3, give it to you real quick. Colossians 3, starting at the 17th verse. It simply says this. I was going to read it, but then my device wants to do something different. All right, there we go. Colossians 3:17 says, King James says, and whatsoever ye do in the word or in deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. Wives, verse 18, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it fits in the Lord. Key word, as it fits in the Lord. Nothing about as it fits in the Lord had anything to do with me choking you until you sleep. Right. Because that ain't fitting in the Lord.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing about that scripture says. It says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband.
Not somebody else's.
Let me clear. Oh, no. Let me be clear. Not your boo. Not your baby daddy. It says your husband. Right?
Right.
As it fits in the Lord.
Yeah.
So, you know, just because y'all been together for umpteen years and laid up and living, even if you living together, he ain't your husband, you ain't his wife. There is no level of submission. No, there's no level of biblical submission there. Now, you might be submitting physically because y'all giving each other's bodies to each other. But there is no biblical submission in that, because neither one of you are the husband nor the wife. So this scripture does not apply to you, because you ain't the wife. So you ain't got nothing to submit, and he ain't the husband. He can't be the authority. Okay. Then it says husbands, not baby daddy, not boo, not sugar daddy. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them.
All right.
For this is what it says, and be not bitter against them. Then it goes on. Children, I'm gonna go further. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest ye be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart and fearing of God. And then 23 says, and whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
So let's be clear. The thing that controllers don't understand is it undermines their ability to respect their spouse. That's the thing that controllers don't get. It undermines their ability to respect their spouse. Because if I have control over you, I don't have to respect you. Your opinion don't matter. Right. It's almost like,
so we're saying submit, right, does not give a green light to control.
Absolutely not.
All right.
Absolutely
because
not.
I think that's a perception, right? It's not the only perception, but that's a perception when we read that. And just historically, that submit meant that there was this action from the spouse, typically the man, that there was some level of control that comes with that. And when there was no submission, now we have an issue. We have confrontation, right? We have some tension, and now things escalate, right? But control does not, warrant, right, aggression. In terms, from a biblical standpoint, being the leader, being the head is
absolutely not.
It's not the definition of control.
It is a word that comes up quite often is boundaries, right?
Yes,
And boundaries are more for boundaries are like it's like a fence.
Okay.
And the purpose of the boundary, like a fence, it does what? Is to keep the bad stuff out and the good stuff in.
Right. Yeah.
And then likewise, you create the boundaries with someone who you believe is controlling. Right. So like, for instance, if you're in a couple, a married couple, and you start talking about cleaning, and you say, well, I expect the house to be clean this way. Now, this is 2021. Yeah. Everybody got a job.
That is true.
So it ain't like you sit there, this ain't 1950s,
right,
or 40s,
right,
when the husband goes to work and you at home all day with the kids and, cooking, cleaning all day, dinner ready when he get home, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That traditional.
Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, that created traditional thought of marriage.
Yes. And we're gonna talk about this in upcoming weeks. Was agreed upon, right?
The agreed upon, the standard that was allowed.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you say I'll clean blah 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 this many times a week, and I'll do my best to do this, but then here's the boundary. If that ain't enough, we need to hire somebody to do it.
Right.
Because what you can't do is force me or try to withhold something because I'm not.
Yes.
When it comes to money, I want to save money and be responsible, but we do need to be able to live a little and enjoy ourselves. So I'll commit to spending or giving the kids whatever this amount of money per month for frivolous things. But what we're not going to do is live like, what's the purpose of working if we can't enjoy something? Right?
Very true.
Same thing with relationships. Right. So in relationships, whether it be guy relationships, your guy friends, or women with their female friends, I don't want you to go smoke cigars with Ralph no more.
Right.
Because you don't like, I don't want you to smoke with him because I know, you don't want me to go smoke with him because you don't like him, but we close friends.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, but that's been my buddy though for years. Right. And I hear your concerns, and especially if it's affecting me in a negative way.
You know what?
Yeah.
On the roll. Let me get to the comments.
Oh Lord. let me guess. Let me guess who's back. Let me guess. Do we got the doctor in front of his name?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
Good evening, Angela. I see you all here chiming in here. She's
Wow.
giving us Proverbs scripture. Many are plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Come on now. She said, her eye gets black. The cast iron skillet shall be her regard.
What?
Okay, she's coming back. Dr. Charles Brown here says, or she needs to get off work earlier.
You know what?
So really?
Yeah, I knew that was coming at some point. I was wondering when he was gonna pop back in. I ain't seen him since you left.
But I think the start of this is because my goal right this month is to really have open conversation, not just in specific places, right? So I want to open that door to, because there are many couples out there who are struggling spiritually with domestic violence or domestic abuse being present in their marriage. And they're afraid to get outside help because for some reason the religious, right, the religious foundation is much stronger than the behavioral health, the mental health foundation, right? So it's like, well, what you all say will go against what my church, right, or the doctrine that they're presenting and saying, and we're at a crossroads. So we're gonna stay where we feel the safest, right, and work this thing out. And there's so many married couples that are suffering in silence, but it's not really silent. There are many people in the church that know about domestic violence and abuse in marriages, and they show up every Sunday talking about, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And it's a cycle, and that bothers me, right? That bothers me that the person next to you in the pew, right, could have just been assaulted by their spouse, and we pretend like that's okay. We pretend like, oh, you know, if God gave you this spouse, then He meant for you to be in this marriage. That essentially says that person being abused, it was made for them to go through abuse. And I haven't read anywhere in the Bible where God put together a marriage that where abuse was supposed to be present and is under, right? He gave it, like He deposited, right, it into this marriage. And I think that's where I want to, start taking these layers off to say, let's talk about it more in the church and stop normalizing as if God told you to marry this person, then deal with what comes with them.
That's where I go back to the original statement that we made when we were, I forget what show you were doing before, something to do with marriage, about something. And that's when I made the comment, and I stick by it. And I know there is I remember being in seminary, and you know me, I start fights. I remember having a conversation about marriages. I believe God blesses the act of marriage. Yeah. But God ain't gonna bless them. God ain't gonna ordain you to marry somebody that's gonna kick your butt. Right. He ain't. Right. He wouldn't put you. Right. He wouldn't say this is your husband. And I'm gonna work on him while he beating you. Yeah, I'm go right. Well, yes, he gonna punch you for the first 2 years of y'all marriage, but he gonna come through better than ever at the other side, and you just stick around. That ain't God. Yeah. That's not God at all. I want to real quick go to this this Romans. There's a scripture in Romans. Okay. Real quick, Romans 15. Romans 15. 1 and 3. Okay. It says this. It says, Romans 15. I didn't hit the wrong button. Okay. Romans 15, 1 and 3. Romans 15, 1 and 3 says this. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even Christ pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on him. I know you're saying, what you just say, preacher? Let me give you a Message Bible and make it real plain. Those of us who are strong and able in faith need to step in and lend a hand to those that falter, and not just to do what is most convenient for us. Right. Strength is for service, not status. Yeah. Each one of us needs to look after the good of the people around us, asking ourselves, how can I help you? I'm not helping you by controlling you. Yeah. Right? I'm not helping you by controlling you. Here's the deal. And I had to learn this. People don't love you because you are perfect. They love you because you aren't. Yes. Think about that. Yeah. People don't love you because you're perfect. They love you because you aren't. And the minute we realize that that it's not about loving you because you're perfect, I love you because you aren't. Because if you're perfect, then what can I do for you? Mm-hmm. Nothing. What can I provide for you? Nothing. Right. What can I lend to you? Nothing. Right. What can I bring to the table? Nothing. Yeah. So at some point, we have to realize that it can't be it can't be the controlling piece. That's where the boundary thing kicks in to say, I'm not going to allow you I'm not going to allow this level of control because I'm not going to allow this level of control because there's more to us than
Right.
what you allowed me to do. Right. And so just like if it's the wife that's controlling, right? If a controlling wife with a submissive husband will never respect him if he submits to her demands.
All right.
Because now it's like,
decision making.
I can't even, I'm afraid to be honest with you, when I need to be about, this decision that's about to be made because you control the purse strings. Right?
Yeah.
The mortgage is in your name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even though I go to work and pay my part, it's in your name.
That's happening a lot.
Yes.
That is happening a lot as well.
Because when we get angry, we say, I'll take it. It's mine. Or if it gets to the point where, you don't want to leave, I'll call the police. Let's see who they make leave. Because the first thing the police going to say, who name on it? Yeah.
All right, y'all. So this is the intro, right?
Yeah.
This is the intro of talking more about putting in perspective how God blesses a marriage, right? And not what he expects us, right? To be abused or that comes with it. That's not part of the territory.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? It's not part of the territory according to God's design and purpose of a marriage.
Not at all.
Right? So understand that and I guess that the conclusion to that is seek the appropriate guidance, seek the appropriate, right? Consultation and intervention for your marriage, because if someone supports any marriage to continue as is and it's saturated with domestic violence, they are not the appropriate resource.
I want to,
and I don't care what capacity, right, that they work in. If they are encouraging you to remain in an abusive and violent marriage, right? And let me just say it like this: if they're not extending the invitation to get multiple levels of help, other than go home and pray together and work it out, that's not appropriate at that moment.
I don't want to take up much of your time. I want to share this quick, and I'll give the Reader's Digest version. And Tanya probably knows this story. There was a couple, a very young couple, who decided to get married, and the boyfriend and fiance, he had some issues with his hands. He liked to lay his hands, and not in the prayerful way. They went to counseling. This was found out during their premarital counseling. Now, for me, that's I can't do your wedding. That's ain't no way I'm not signing a marriage license on this.
Yes.
That will not be on my conscience that I told you, the Lord will work it out, and then I get the phone call that I went from doing your wedding to doing your funeral.
Wow.
And they got married, and the pastor listened to this story, and the person was like, well, I get angry when I drink.
Okay.
And so then I recall young ladies showing up at church, I'm assuming after they were married. Tanya, you got to help me with this one. It was either after they were married, wearing sunglasses, big ones, because this was swole up. And then some of us, myself and some deacons, had to go take a drive.
Yeah.
And this is not, but then it serves no purpose because, there's this misconception of, I got to go back.
Right.
Yeah. So, and again, this happens when you have untrained people, right? You have untrained people, for lack of better words, if we keep it on a medical professional level, misdiagnosing stuff.
Yeah.
Just pray it out. It's all right. That's like telling you, I just got shot. Take an aspirin.
Right.
The aspirin to kill the pain, but you still bleeding out.
Yeah. Swollen.
Yes.
Infected.
Yes.
Yeah. And countless stories of that, right? Countless stories of that. But I promise you, as long as we keep doing this work, we will speak up and out about it. And hopefully, some of these things resonates with the listeners and whoever, watches this show later, right? Now, we talked about controlling spouses from a biblical standpoint, and we always get into did you know facts. And so I did do this particular fact here, focused on Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I thought it was quite interesting. And it's always interesting when I look at this particular statistic, because I feel that society is making this not just a mockery out of it, but also normalizing this particular behavior. And the did you know fact is, did you know 19.3 million women and 5.1 million men in the United States have been stalked in their lifetime? And this is reported, right? Obviously, this could be via survey, via, an arrest or whatever data was compiled together to produce these statistics between 2020 and to present. And so I thought about that. I said, if we really talk about the concept of stalking, right? The concept of stalking, there's a law, right? Stalking is illegal, right? It is illegal. And it says here, according to Illinois' law, a person commits stalking when he or she knowingly engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person, and he or she knows or should know that this course of conduct would cause a reasonable person to, number one, fear for their safety or the safety of a third person, such as a child, right? Or another member present. Number two, suffer emotional distress. Number three, a person commits stalking when he or she knowingly and without lawful justification on at least two separate occasions follows another person or places the person under surveillance or a combination thereof. Threatens, right? At any time, threats of immediate or future bodily harm, sexual assault, confinement, or restraint, and the threat is directed towards a person or a family member of that person, right? Stalking places that person in a reasonable apprehension of immediate or future bodily harm. All right. It places the person in a reasonable apprehension that a family member will receive immediate or future bodily harm, which includes sexual assault, confinement, or restraint. A person commits stalking when he or she has previously been convicted of stalking another person and knowingly and without justification on one occasion follows the same person or places that same person under surveillance, right? And I think about this where a lot of time is spent, right, following people. And this includes social media, right? When we inbox it, right? When we are, creating fake pages. Okay, right. So looking at and I say this because it escalates from here. When we see that, I'm stalking you and I'm seeing things that I don't like. So now I have to take action. So now I not only threaten you, but I threaten everybody in your household. I threaten to keep the kids from you. I threaten your brother. I threaten your sister. I threaten the folk at work, right? I dare them say something to me when I show up. And I hear of these things where it's everywhere, right? When we look at reality TV, right? A lot of videos, a lot of people are doing things on social media as far as videos, and we're making fun of. we're making fun of an illegal behavior. Right? And we create these I don't know if we call them monologues, but like we create these storylines. We create these, videos that's supposed to be comedy, stalking. And do you know people are out here doing those things? And there are people being harmed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? There's somewhere somebody is afraid to go out of their house, but we can go on any media platform and see where we're making jokes out of somebody else's pain that's so real to them. Right? And so I found that interesting that, of course the stats are higher for women because the reporting mechanism, and of course, it may just be more women are stalked, right? In the United States. But those are really high numbers in their lifetime. Unwanted calling, right? Texting. And I know we can do a lot of blocking now, but I still hear how people are getting to the person that they want to get to, even though they've been blocked, even though they've been, told.
Because if I say I have nothing else to do with you, and I'm done with you, and you decide you can't be done,
yes,
or if you are going to be done, I'm going to not only just make sure that you're done with me, everybody going to be done with you. So I'm going to, you can block me, but you can't block me from your people because your people don't know me. So I can either show up with a fake page, or show up with fake, create a text message number, because it's easy to get anybody's, do whatever. Yeah. And because I am either hurt or bothered, I want you to be that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could back it up a little bit, even if you're in a relationship where your partner puts the app on your phone to track you, and they show up, right? Or they call you, hey, what you doing over here? They show up at your job unannounced or wherever you are, right, looking for you. Is that that's still stalking?
That is a level of stalking,
right? Like okay, what is happening here? That not only do you have to track me, but you track and tell me you tracking me when I'm somewhere you don't feel I should be.
At what point of that is it because of the environment that they feel has been created?
I thought about that, but I also think about what we're normalizing. I think for me, I'm still wrapping my mind around how, first of all, people are creating these tools to quote unquote track somebody. Well, we could put a GPS on my car, right? Or computers.
Here is the deal. If you live people, married couples, 9 times out of 10 have one phone service, right?
Yes.
Unless you come into a marriage and, you got Verizon and she got Sprint.
Yeah.
Right. And then at some point it's like, well, if we're combining everything, then who got the better plan? Or who got the better service? And now everybody know Verizon is like American Express. It's like ridiculous, as far as, but the thing is, if we all got whatever service,
yes,
and we got iPhones, like these iPads, every one of these iPads is listed under me. So at any given time, the holder of any one of these iPads can say, find my iPad. That ain't nothing sneaky. I mean, technically it's not, but you can see, I want to know where all the iPads at.
Right.
And then so if all the iPads are sitting in TTLO studio, but then there's some random iPad that's at some location that don't match up with nothing that we all know.
Is it on?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Or your phone, right? Yes. Yeah. So but again, if that's an environment that's been created and that person feels like I need to do this to feel secure,
safe, yeah.
Then what? I guess then what's the difference at that point? Or is there one?
And in it, for me, it's the it's who?
Do you turn your mic back on? Because you turned it off.
popping noise.
Right.
I don't know.
Is it back
I
on
just
now?
think it's overdone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to you and these iPads, I mean, but it's just because it was a tool meant to find a lost iPad, not to locate anybody and everything else like that. So, personally, I hate your camera. Every time I come in here, I cover it up.
But you know why it's there.
Yeah, I know why it's there.
Yeah.
But it just it's a
You got to get used to it, right?
No, I haven't gotten used to it. No,
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure at some level when we talk about security in our home and everything else like that, I'm going to be against a lot of things because like that's.
It's mostly external though, not internal. Ain't nobody trying to see you in the house all day.
Well, I mean, but they're like, just something,
Because okay, let me ask you this question, not to cut you off. Do you feel you don't know who watching you when you in the store?
I don't know who.
And there's 1,000 cameras in the store.
Okay,
but that's if you're trying to steal, right? That's loss prevention.
But that's the purpose of that camera, though.
Yeah,
loss prevention.
Yeah, but, I mean, not for me, but just period.
Yeah,
we have people who have access to the
Used to. Right.
We're gonna act like they do.
Right. Wink.
Okay. And everything else like that. But just to have it on, period, like you just can't never get comfortable in this, like in this place and everything else like that, because it's just it's creepy. It's borderline weirdo and everything.
I think that
so I know my stuff.
A lot of gadgets and technology has this I don't want to say front, but security system. But I do believe that there are some instances where partners or a person in a relationship is trying to, I don't want to say, spy and make sure that they, remain in control, right, of who's coming in, who's going out. And it's frequently monitored, right, when there's nothing going on. Let me put it that way. So that's kind of where I was with that. It's like we have to be careful because there are people who are monetizing, right, off the concept of off of
somebody's paranoia. Off of paranoia or off the insecurities.
Yes.
So it's easy to, and it's a great way to unfortunately it is another way to monetize or to make money. We got to get to a point where we're not actively seeking to do that.
Right.
Right. What was the movie with Julia Roberts? Oh my God, it was an older movie. Her husband was abusive, and she faked her death to get away from him. She went and secretly took swimming lessons, and he thought she drowned. Yeah, but she didn't. And oh my God, I cannot think of the name of that movie. But that was a situation where he was like checking everything. Yeah. When he got mad because the cans weren't a certain way in the thing. He was a provider. He did all these things, but he never gave her anything that could be hers. Right. It was always, this is mine. Yeah. I can't think of the name of that movie though.
So stalking. Right.
Yes.
Understand it. And I like to talk as if I'm helping that person who's doing it. Right. It's an awareness that this could lead to something dangerous. Right. To consume yourself with the actions and the controlling of another person. This could become very dangerous and it can escalate really, really quick. But stalking is illegal. You can be charged. Right. You can be charged and arrested.
Yes.
Right. Arrested and charged for stalking and know what that looks like. Okay. Do I need to check myself? Am I overly engaged in this person, in their whereabouts and making them, for my own insecurities, I'm making them be who I need them to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't go here because this makes me uncomfortable or I don't trust you. Right, we have to be careful of that. So I definitely, wanted to kick off, these discussions with this particular statistic because it's the most persistent one, right? It's the most prevalent one that tends to lead to other things, and unfortunately, it leads to fatalities.
Sometimes it does.
If
left unchecked.
Yeah.
Left unchecked.
Yes, unchecked. Good evening, David. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, let's keep it going here. We were talking about domestic violence, and for the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a little bit more specific, but I wanted to kick off this first one talking about myths and facts of domestic violence. And, I'm starting here because I think that we can look at it from a cultural perspective, whether that is the African American community or the American culture. Mm-hmm. There's still some things that we still feel like does not apply to relationships, even when it's saturated with domestic violence. Okay. And so the first myth here is that domestic violence is a private matter. Mm-hmm. And to this very day, I still hear people say that. That's between them. Right? Meaning it's a private family matter. And typically family matter means that immediate, right? That immediate household, not even once you get married, leave out, your parents' home or you're on your own and not even married, but in a relationship, it's nobody else's business, right? And so I still hear people say that domestic violence is a private matter between those two people. Right? And it says here domestic violence, the fact is it's everyone's business, right? Keeping domestic violence secret helps no one. It shows that domestic violence harms kids, right? It's costly to society, and it serves to perpetrate abuse through learned patterns and behaviors, right? And so understanding, like when you think about the call that's made to a victim who's been harmed, you have the police, you have the ambulance, you have all the doctors, the nurses. So it can't be a private matter. Because what if we had that, I come to your house and you tell me we had a fight, right? Or you beat me up. Oh, well, that's between y'all, right? You going to have to take care of yourself, right? And we need to stop thinking in that particular mindset that domestic violence is a private family matter because it's not. It's actually a community health problem. Right? And I don't know. I think that by 2021, I don't understand why we continue to say that domestic violence is a private couple's issue. I think by now, right, we've done enough to not have that particular myth, right, continue to be on this list here. Right. So I just wanted to, as they say, demyth that, right? That domestic violence is not a private family matter. It is a societal matter. And I'd like to think that, even with the concept of, those who say, well, I've intervened before and they just went back. Right. But we don't apply that same concept to other things that we do. Such as jobs, right? Such as financial disability. Well, if someone is financially irresponsible, you still give them money. Does that make sense? Like, we don't apply this same, concept to other areas of life, but why do we put such emphasis on, well, you went back, I'm not helping you anymore. But we continue to help in other ways when a person is deficient, quote unquote, right, in their decision making. So I think that we need to definitely make sure the mindset stays that domestic violence impacts everybody, every member in the community. Your child's friends are impacted by your violent relationship.
Yes.
Those teachers are impacted by, right, your violent relationship. So there's so many people here, right, that comes in contact with your family members that can be impacted as well. And I don't think we think about that, right? I know it's hard when
sometimes we think it's just I mean, working in the school system, there's a young lady in one of my classes who is having those difficulties at home where her parents are not, they're doing a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
And so she comes to school and she is very withdrawn. So she, and so and I think a lot of times they don't realize the ramifications. They don't realize the ramifications of what's being done.
Yeah. And it's tough because you think about that child and their emotional well-being, but also, okay, if we make this call to DTFS, he or she may be removed from the home, and now we got a whole different, experience for this child going on, right? And I think that's the complication, and this is why I say it impacts everybody, because once a child is significantly or just impacted by domestic violence, adults must take actions. We're mandated reporters. It's not just abuse and neglect directly towards a child. The home life matters as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so what are we supposed to do? Sit and watch your child be in suffer, like emotionally, be distressed, and the teacher's trying to teach and, trying to figure out what's going on. Counselors are trying to figure out what's going on. What do you want us to do when your child is suffering from seeing you in that relationship, that dynamic, right? It's not just a family issue. It's a societal issue. All right. All right. So another myth here says victims provoke their partner's violence.
Wow. That's the myth.
The myth.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
The myth is victims provoke their partner's violence. And I thought about that because as soon as someone discloses they were assaulted, right, battered, or threatened in some way, generally the first question they're asked,
what you do?
Yeah, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do too? Right? And so the fact is, whatever the problem exists in a relationship, the use of violence is never justifiable or acceptable. There is no excuse for domestic violence. I believe that there are people out there who don't believe that there is no excuse for domestic violence. Somebody is having a conversation as to whether or not, or the terms under which physical aggression in a relationship is justifiable. And they're standing on their case, right? They're pleading their case that under these circumstances, it's justifiable to be physically aggressive with your partner. It's being justified right now. Whether that's a partner who just hit their partner and said, I wouldn't have done this unless you. Yeah,
if she just stopped talking, or if she give me a chance to think, or if she, any of those scenarios where you said some things so much to me that you controlled my arm from swinging. It's your fault. My fist moved.
You make me angry. You push my button.
Yeah.
All you had to do was cook this. All you had to do was right. Do what I told you to do. Somebody right now is justifying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why they are justified in hitting their partner.
Or the emotional abuse. Yeah. Yeah.
And we talk about physical abuse because that is the one where you can be arrested and charged, right? You can't.
That's true.
Get arrested and charged for emotional.
These are facts.
Or spiritual, depending on what financial abuse you've done, right? You can't get arrested for sexual abuse if it's rape, right? But typically, physical violence is the most prevalent one, right? As it relates to threats of, right, included in there. But somewhere somebody is blaming the victim for provoking the partner's violence. And at the end of the day, it was a choice. Right? You chose to hit your partner. You chose to hit them with an object. You chose to threaten them with a gun. You chose to strangle them. You chose. Because there are many other options you had as to how you wanted to handle yourself. But because we're going to talk about next week, power and control, your focus was not on yourself. Your focus was on the other person and making them do what you wanted them to do. Right? And so that's what that leads to is, nothing a person in a relationship can do can literally, right, provoke you to use violence. Absolutely. I'm not talking about a fight.
Right.
Right. I'm talking about where you don't like what I'm saying. I'm talking about I'm not doing what you say.
Right.
Right.
And your way of
Right.
handling it is what? Yeah.
It's physically. Okay. So that is clear. You choose to use physical aggression. It is your choice. All right. The next myth here says that domestic violence is an impulse control or anger management problem. Domestic violence is an impulse control or anger management problem. Now listen, this is what I have to say. I'll read the fact and give, how I explain it. Abusers act deliberately and with forethought. Abusers choose whom to abuse. For an example, an abuser will selectively batter their partner, but not their boss. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where this is going.
Yeah.
Anger management issues, impulse control issues mean that you don't discriminate who you lose your cool with. Means that when you're out of control, you're not selective with who you're out of control with. Right? So, and we, in going back, right, in historically, we did classify domestic violence, some of these arrests as, you have an anger management problem, let me refer you to an anger management program. So you get in the program and we talk general, right? Because we do anger management as well. So in anger management, we literally just talk about triggers and cues and how do you want to control when you're in road rage. And, we're not zoned in on intimate partner violence. Because anger management is your impulse control or your lack of, right? Your ability not to control your emotions when under distress, such as anger and frustration. Right? And so, yes, there are some individuals who have been given a pass because they have been labeled as being a perpetrator of domestic violence, who've been told that all they had was an anger management problem. Not a problem with hitting women or hitting men, but that you just had an anger management problem. And it never addressed the intimate partner violence concept of power and control. So in a roundabout way, this person can continue to do what they do in relationships. They can say, I know how to control my anger when I'm at work, right? When I'm around other people. I don't get angry when I'm in traffic anymore. I don't have road rage anymore. But their partner at home is like, okay, what in the world is going on? Right? Because anger management doesn't necessarily mean that you have a domestic violence problem. Right? So if I gave you that pass, you're going to stay in the mindset of, all I have was an anger management problem. I'm good. So I can go back to what I was doing because this is appropriate, right? I'm condoning, right? You all have condoned that it was appropriate for me to display these behaviors in this relationship because you didn't address my behaviors in this relationship, right? So that the fact is, perpetrators of domestic violence, meaning abusers, meaning aggressiveness in a relationship, is deliberate and with forethought. You actually sit and think about how you are going to abuse and harm your partner. Does that make sense? Like a lot of times we hear, if you don't, then I'm going to. Right. You understand what I'm saying? So there is a plan that's typically already created. Right? Because in their mind, this is how I'm going to control this situation. You're going to do what I'm saying. You're going to be right? Who I'm telling you to be. And if not, this is what's lined up for you.
Wow.
All right. All right, let's keep going here. Next myth says it's easy for a victim to leave their abuser. So if he or she doesn't leave, it means that he or she likes the abuse or is exaggerating how bad it is.
Wow.
Right? That is the myth. The myth is it is easy for a victim to leave their abuser. Let me pause right there. Leaving an abuser is the most difficult thing in the world.
Wow.
And I know what I just said.
Mm-mm.
I want us to think about that.
That's huge.
Here I am in this relationship being battered, torn down, don't have any money because, most times in this intensity of a relationship, it's you control the money, right? You control my life, right? I've isolated myself from my friends, and I don't see a way out. You've shown me that you can stalk me and find me. You've already told me what you will do to me if I tried to leave. I know how hard you hit because you hit me every week.
Wow.
So how is it easy for me to leave if I already know the damage that you can do to me? Right? And so we know the next statistic coming up is we have more fatalities when victims try to leave the abusive relationship than if they stay. We actually can compare those statistics, right? There's a higher fatality rate. Your life is gone, taken from you when you try to leave as opposed to if you stay. So it's not easy, right? And it definitely does not mean that they like the abuse. I never understood where that concept came from anyway, that a person likes being abused.
Somebody thought it was slick to say you must like it, that's why you stay.
Yes.
Somebody thought that was cute.
Yeah,
or something.
I read it. I've been trained on it, right? that is a belief system, right? That is a theory, right? And I've yet to talk to anybody that was been in an abusive relationship who said, I like this, or who even gave any indication as such. Do you know the fear that's in a person when they're being abused? It's like children.
I don't think but I think the person making the statement, and here's the deal. Maybe you got out of your, there are those people, and nothing about this is a good thing, but the good thing, if I was going to say that or phrase it, if I could think of a different phraseology, I would.
Phraseology, come on now, I like phraseology.
If I could come up with, let me make it easy. If I come up with a new term, I would.
Yeah.
But there are those people who say you only get one time.
Yeah.
And I'm up.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
If you go back to the What's Love Got to Do with It movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when Ike hit old girl at the diner.
Yeah.
And she was like, you only get to hit me one time. And she rolled out. She said, I ain't finna be like her. You only get to hit me one time. And I rolled out. That there is that mentality for some people. So that but then those people who say, I left, he tried it one time, or she tried it one time, and I was up, I left. Right. So why are you staying around? But then we don't know. It's easy to say, it's easy to tell somebody, just pack up and go. But we don't know the financial situation. Because where they packing up, where they going? They coming to your house?
In the tearing down. You have to understand.
Where they going? To your house?
Right. This so deep.
Right.
It's so deep because I've known individuals where they can't keep a job because of the domestic violence in the relationship.
Yeah, because I can't go to work with this black eye, so I'm gonna keep taking off.
Correct, right? and you know, especially if kids are involved.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where it was sabotage, where the person tried to get a job and the spouse sabotaged the effort, so they couldn't even go to work.
Of course.
Right?
Because
so,
God forbid you become financially stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's so much that goes into when you say if they don't leave, they must like it. Do you understand the price tag that comes with leaving?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, both men and women, can't just walk out the door